Well, I have to start by asking, can you share what your involvement was in the film and how did that all come about?
I grew up in a military family, a U.S. military family. My dad was in the Army. So from 1980 until 1992, we were stationed over in Germany. Specifically, we were in Munich. We all lived in buildings, military buildings, and I lived close to the school. I would have been about 8 years old in 1983. And I used to go home for lunch every day as opposed to eating at the cafeteria because I didn't like the cafeteria food. I didn't like to carry a cold sandwich. So I'd go home for lunch and eat my SpaghettiOs and grilled cheese. And then I would head back early to the playground where we would have recess after lunch. So we'd play and I'd get there early. Well, one day I came there and there was a woman on the playground and she said she was casting for a movie and she wanted to see if I'd be interested in possibly being part of it. And if so, then she wanted to take my picture, get my phone number and my address. Well, I'm 8 years old and this is a complete stranger. And but recognizing the opportunity here, I took a real risk that I would never tell my kids to do. And I gave her all my information. I gave her my name, my address, phone number, and so forth. And she took it down. And then sure enough, she called my parents and she was an actual casting agent for the Neverending Story. And she was looking for kind of American kids to be in various roles, including background artists and just kind of parts in the Ivory Tower. And that's how I got selected.
And how long from that moment did you end up actually on set? And what did you have preparations or were you literally just thrown into it?
I was literally just thrown into it. I think I was the right size and height for this character that they wanted in the Ivory Tower. Because I got in this movie, I was able to be out of school for like 6 to 8 weeks, which was kind of a fun thing to do. Bavaria Film Studios was about 25 minutes from our neighborhood, the U.S. military neighborhood. And they would send a van every morning. And it would pick me up. I want to say it was really early for me. It could have been 8, but it probably was more like 7 a.m. And they'd pick me up as well as a couple of the other of the American kids and take us to the various film studios. And then every morning, my character had quite a bit of makeup and preparation because as you saw, I'm like painted all the way down to my waist, all the way up to the top. They had to put on this fancy wig, glue on these ears, put on these goat hooves. And that was easily an hour and a half every day that I would get that makeup put on. Then I would do the scenes, and we did that for several times. I think it was at least a couple weeks of just the Ivory Tower, just going through that 3 to 4 minute segment where Moses Gunn comes and talks to the audience. My makeup every day, which I didn't appreciate at the time, I was having it done right next to Moses Gunn. So he was getting on his skull cap with the flesh mohawk and I'm sure we had small chit chat because he was an American actor, but really no preparation. It was just get out there, get on the set. They would move us around a little bit. I remember it just being, well, I was 8 years old. So it's the attention. I still don't have that great of an attention span. And at 8 years old, I really didn't have an attention span. So sitting there and doing something over and over again, I'm sure I was quite antsy on set. It was a fun time. I was standing next to the elephant head in the movie. The elephant head guy was also named Mark. That's how I remember him. And most of the time was just standing around. I remember it was very hot and the food was marginal for me, I guess. I wasn't quite into it. It wasn't the SpaghettiOs and grilled cheese. I think it was a lot of schnitzels and cutlets and things of that nature. So it was fun. We did that for about 3 weeks or so. I can't remember exactly the term, but several weeks. I got paid at the end of each day in cash, which was kind of fun for an 8-year-old to get. I was trying to guesstimate what it was. It was at least 200 to 300 Deutschmarks every day, which is the equivalent of $100 in cash. And, my parents would save that for me, and I ended up getting a bike out of it. So, but it was fun. I have a lot of stories from the Ivory Tower that just, in hindsight, it's just so kind of cool to have been part of that. I didn't really appreciate it till I told people later on in life, not later on in life, but like when I'd meet people at work and I'd say I had a little role in the Neverending Story. And they would light up like it was the biggest thing. And then when I show them a picture of my character, they just kind of laugh. And so I kind of didn't know people liked it as much as they did.
One of the things that the film is most famous for, apart from the actual like physicality of everything with the puppets, and was the sets, because they actually built the sets. It wasn't really green screen. They used a bit of blue screen, but everyone I spoke to just was so impressed with the scale of it all. So do you remember the scope of this world that they built and how that was for you as an 8-year-old?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because really when you come, as an 8-year-old, you're coming onto this movie set. It is just a bunch of big buildings on the outside. And then when you got into the Ivory Tower, it was just vast. It was big. It was all decorated. It's just as you see in the movie. And you have all those physical characters dressed as creatures walking around. Yeah, it was quite enormous. I think it took up the whole studio there when we were filming that scene. I also remember seeing other sets, like the attic scene. That was kind of more... felt more a smaller space where they were filming around it. And that's when I got to spend a lot of time up there when they had me do stand-in work for Barrett Oliver, because he and I were the same age and we were basically the same size and build at the time. In that context, I got to do a little bit more than just the Ivory Tower. Obviously, I did the book, a little bit in the bookstore, a little bit in the attic. And then at the end, when he rides Falkor, I got to be on Falkor before they filmed the scene. And and it's kind of cool. Again, I get more nostalgic about it when I think about it because it's such a unique experience. But sitting on Falkor, and they had a little microphone in the back of his neck, so when you're leaning over, and they had to test the sound and the camera, and I got to say things like "faster, Falkor, faster," and just kind of at the time I don't really appreciate it, but now when you watch the movie and see all the fanfare, that's kind of a cool experience. So yeah, riding on the Falkor, which was just kind of a prosthetic type dog, your luck dragon on a some sort of a device, and you just mounted it. It was, and then that one I think actually was a blue screen or something in the back.
And just in case there's anyone who doesn't understand the role of a stand-in, it's essentially because it takes so long to light and set everything up, then you would be in Bastian's position while he wasn't needed, and then they could set the scene up. So you really would have had a lot of interaction with Wolfgang and Joost Vacano, who was the DOP, and the crew. And so what was that experience like?
I don't remember getting a lot of, I probably got a lot of hands-on adjustments, like my body and things of that nature. But in doing the stand-in stuff, I really, they would probably tell me just to adjust here, adjust there. I didn't really have too much hard direction because I think the role there was pretty easy for me. I like that because I didn't have to, the cameras weren't necessarily rolling on me, but I just had to hold the book. I had to slouch over. I had to have a little thing on me, and I think I remember a little bit of. I don't know who the person was, but I do remember that when I was on Falkor, because I was probably a little shy. It's kind of a little shy to be in this movie because I probably didn't take advantage of the opportunity in front of me. But when they had speaking parts, like hey, say faster, Falkor, faster. I remember getting some coaching on that because I was just a little shy, and I understand that, just like my kids who are 8, if I tell them to go ask for a lollipop at the store, they get really shy. And here I am sitting on this thing, and there's people all around, and they're filming, and it's all serious. And I do remember not doing that quite as well as I probably could have.
And so did you spend time with Barrett Oliver a lot? And what was he like?
He and I, we spent quite a bit of time together on set. And then we had similar interests. We both liked playing with action figures and Star Wars and Army men, and we were 8-year-old boys. I spent the night over at his hotel one night, kind of a sleepover, and we played there. I remember it was his mother who was with him over in Germany, from what I remember, so she would have been in the hotel as well. And we just played over at his hotel room and had a good time, and then he came on to our military base and spent the time with me and played. We had a couple play dates over on the military base in our playground and did Army figures and so forth. It was really kind of just normal kid interactions, Well, I had some interaction with Noah Hathaway. I had really no interaction with the princess.
What was your time with Noah like?
Well, this is an interesting story. So I'm going to show you one of these pictures that my mom took from backstage. And I think it might set it up pretty okay. And I'll send these to you so in case you want to. But so this is me backstage. You can see all ready to go. This was like the waiting room for a lot of the extras, especially the Americans. And then this guy was an American too. He was a couple years older than me. Well, I don't know. I was kind of lippy too as a kid. I was kind of, agitate people sometimes. And I must have done something because that kid in the green then punched me in the stomach backstage really hard. And I started crying. And then just around that same time, Noah Hathaway was kind of running around backstage, and he had a fake gun, and he's playing cowboys and Indians or whatever, shooting the gun. And he saw I was crying, and then he came over, and kind of consoled me a little bit. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he consoled me, and then he wrote me an autograph, and then I have the autograph still. And because I think there's probably were rules. I don't remember asking anybody for autographs, and I want to say there might have been some rules against that, but he wrote me a little note, and this is like from my mom's notepad. She always had these things. It says, something like, "Dear Mark, have a great 1984, Noah Hathaway." The only thing from the Neverending Story that we originally kept that we no longer have, that I'm kicking myself for not thinking of finding better ways to preserve this, is we used to have one of the prosthetic ears that they put on me every day that they glued, which was like a rubbery type thing. These are, obviously I bought these at some cheap store today, but just a rubber ear, and we saved it for a long time in a plastic bag without preserving it properly. So then after a year or two, it really disintegrated and turned to crap. But I would have loved to have kept one of those little ears. But yeah, we kept a lot of things. I kept all the sticker books and stickers they made of me. Like anytime we would see something for sale in Munich for the Neverending Story, we'd buy it to see if any of our characters were in there. And I'm going to back up. My whole family was actually in the movie. So my parents and my 3 brothers. I had, much to their, they'll mention this, and it's not, I had the bigger, more prominent role because I was both Barrett's stand-in and in the Ivory Tower. My brother was in the Ivory Tower, my older brother, Sean. He was one of the mushrooms. And then my parents and my older brother and younger brother were in the scene where Barrett runs into the bookstore being chased by bullies, and then you see a bunch of people in the background as the doors close. That's a street in Bavaria Film Studios, and my parents are in the background. You can't really see them; it's kind of blurred. But my parents, then my older brother, and then my brother, who's a mushroom, was actually one of the guys that ran past the screen, one of the bullies, because you don't see their faces, so that wasn't exactly the same people that you saw in some of the other scenes. So it was kind of a family affair, which was kind of fun.
Oh, that's really nice. So do you have like Neverending Story movie nights?
I've tried to get my kids to watch it, and they like to see it. I'm in the first 8-10 minutes, and then after that I haven't been able to keep their attention. However, I have noticed that this weekend here in town, they're playing it at one of our cinemas to celebrate the 40th anniversary. And I am going to do my best to get tickets and take them to that so we can actually watch it on the big screen, because I've never really seen it on the big screen. We did get invited because I was his Barrett stand-in, we got invited to the premiere in Munich. And so I did go to that with my mom and dad, and we were able to keep those tickets too, which was kind of cool. I'm surprised we were able to keep that.
So does that mean that your kids are going to see this Swamp of Sadness scene for the first time on the big screen?
Yep, haven't gotten to that part yet for them. So,
well, I hope that that scene shapes their childhood as much as it did everyone else's from the 80s.
When I went to the premiere with my parents, I don't really remember much about it, but this is the one memory I have. And there would be people that would interview you or talk to you about what you thought about the movie after you saw it. And I don't know what I said. I'm not even sure they asked me. But they asked my parents, or they asked my dad, and what did you think of the movie? And I'm sitting there next to him, and he told him he didn't like it. and I, at the time I was like, well, I didn't really think much of it, but I'm like, Dad, you just killed my acting career. You just said you didn't like the movie. So that was kind of, I guess he was being honest. He probably didn't like it, but he wasn't really quite playing the political game that you need to do when you're at the premiere and the director's there and the other actors. And but that's my funny memory from the premiere.
I'm going to backtrack a little bit because I need you to share your Ivory Tower stories that you have. I would love to hear your memories of that experience.
I remember it being hot, and I know that I'm kind of an antsy. I was certainly a hyper kid. As I play a lot of sports, and sitting still was never my forte. So going there every day and for hours and the heat and eating lukewarm food and getting dressed up every day, it probably started to wear on me a little bit. Some of the other characters, I think, on occasion would come over and recognize that, and they would try to entertain me a little bit. And one of the coolest memories I have is one of the little people that's in the scene with fur on him, and you can kind of see him. There's about 3 or 4 of them. One of them was original Oompa Loompa from the Willy Wonka movie. He sang me a first verse of the Oompa Loompa song just directly while I was on set. And I was like, how, again, at the time I was like, oh, it's okay. But as an adult now, and how much I love Willy Wonka, the original movie, that was kind of a cool experience to be able to have somebody sing that to you live. And then there was
Here's your water, Dad.
Oh, thank you.
I love the commitment in your family to those ears. Hi.
Oh, no!
Are you going to go, you're seeing the Neverending Story on the big screen?
Yeah.
Well, I really hope you enjoy it, because this film is so important to us that grew up in the time when it came out, and it's the most amazing childhood movie ever. So I really hope you enjoy it with no pressure.
Oh. All right. See you, Julia.
I'm very envious that you got to meet him.
I was watching the movie again. I remember my character and the elephant head. We were front and center in Ivory Tower. We were right at the base, looking straight up at Moses' gun. We were prominent. I think I wasn't doing something right for the directors or something, because if you look then when Atreyu comes in, which is supposed to be the same scenes, all of a sudden I moved way off to the side with the elephant head. And I have to think that's because even the 2 seconds you can see my face in the front where I'm just put my head down. I think I might have been a little bit ornery, so they moved me way off to the side. And then you had the three little people, and then the mushrooms were in the back right in front of the stage. And I kind of remembered that. And then when I looked at the screen again and took some still shots, I said, man, they did move me out of the prominent, because that would have been really cool to be right behind Atreyu when they're filming that scene, and they moved me off to the side. So I must not have been doing my job very well.
Did you realize it was going to be a big film at the premiere or on set, or you just didn't even think about it? And when did it kind of hit you that this is an iconic movie?
At the time, no, I had no idea. I really didn't know who any of those actors were. I didn't know Wolfgang Petersen. I knew that he had done Das Boot. That's the one that people would always mention. And then I for probably 30 years, I was jaded by my dad's comment right there that he didn't like the movie. And as an 8-year-old, we said, oh, I probably didn't like the movie either. And the moment that I realized, this is bigger than, what my dad had said, is when I came to the United States and started to talk to people and referencing that I was in the film, and to see their reaction. They'd be about the same age as me, plus or minus, 4 years at work. And boy, the reaction would think I was in, I don't know what's the biggest movie, Forrest Gump or something. I mean, they just light up, have great memories of the movie. And then I get excited about it. It kind of gives me energy to go back and start to tell them my stories. And then they get even more excited. And then we kind of get silly too. Like, I have a guy that works with me, and he's just enamored by the fact that I'm in the Neverending Story. And so I printed out a nice color picture of myself and gave him an autograph, and he put it in his office. So, we kind of joke around with it too. But yeah, I found it more when I came to the United States for college in 93, and probably didn't realize that it was as big until 10, 15, years ago, when I started telling people at work, and I saw the reaction, which is kind of fun. And then I saw the potential they want to remake it. I saw your documentary, and then I started to explore Facebook, and I was seeing all these Neverending Story fan sites, and I was like, wow, this is it's bigger. It has a bigger following than I thought.
Have you realized that it is a great film, and do you like it personally, or do you still have your dad's comment in the back of your head?
It's going to take me a while to get my dad's comment out of my head, and that's part of the reason I want to take my kids and go see it in the theater and have a theater experience where we can sit down and watch it. And that's going to be, I'm going to sit down and come at it as if I'm not in the movie, and I'm going to look at it and try to get rid of everything in the past and just let's look at it. So I'm going to reserve my review until after this weekend.
I always find it really interesting when I talk to people about looking back on these films that we grew up loving, because a lot of people that I know who watched certain films as an adult, they just go, oh, it's okay. Because you obviously, I watch films now with the nostalgic aspect as well. Like, I watch it because I love it, but I watch it because I loved it as a kid. And I remember where I was sitting when I watched it and what was going on in my life and, that whole period. So you kind of have a nostalgia hat with it. So it'd be really interesting to see when you watch it, if you can watch it with a teenage hat and appreciate, or you just might love it as an adult. It's such a fine line, I think, with these kind of iconic movies that we grew up with?
I've come to try to watch movies and TV and things of that nature now with a little bit more of an active eye and understanding the key themes, and then try to isolate anything that might, it's not as fancy as, it is now with Star Wars and all the CGI stuff, but really try to review it and look at it for the message and understand what its purpose and intention is. And so I'm really excited to kind of look at it with a fresh lens.
If you had the opportunity to ask anyone from the cast or crew a question, who would you pick and what would you ask?
I asked Barrett Oliver if he remembers playing over in the military community with me, and if he remembers the sleepover that we had, and again, just kind of playing Star Wars figures. I think, and I would love to hear kind of if he has any memories or experience of us interacting, because again, on set there's not many American kids, and so I was an American kid with American interests, the same age, and for me that was kind of cool. And I think that I wonder if he has any memories of that. I guess I'd also ask Noah if he remembers giving me an autograph after this guy slugged me in the stomach, because to me, it was a cool thing. I really thought it was a nice gesture to him to take time. It wasn't anything I was asking for. He tried to console me. These folks have so many other experiences too that I'm sure it's just a blip on the radar of their lives. But I think that'd be kind of cool to ask them if they remember either of those events.
Being Barrett's stand-in, were you able to watch his scenes actually being recorded, or did they?
Yep.
What do you remember about that?
You described it well. I mean, they would go and position me wherever they want the camp, where they want Barrett. The camera would be on. They'd test the sound. I'd have to say some things, say it louder or softer. And then when it was time to roll, they'd be like, get the heck out of here, stand in. And then Barrett would go there and I'd stand off to the side and watch the scenes. And, it's just kind of cool to see somebody that's really, I wasn't acting. I was just sitting there, but he was actually acting. And to see, just to see that, just to be there on the side, like watching somebody film a movie like that is super cool. I don't have any special memories of him messing up or blowing up on set or throwing stuff or tantrum. It was nothing jumps out as those would have been memorable. I remember those. I think it was pretty standard. It seemed like in our interactions a pretty normal kid.
Have you since developed an understanding of Wolfgang's repertoire? Have you gone to watch his movies and kind of see why he is so iconic? And does that change your kind of appreciation, I guess, of your experience?
So I haven't. I've never watched Das Boot. I want to say, did he do Air Force One? Was that another movie he did?
He did. And Outbreak and Perfect Storm were the other big ones. And Enemy Mine, I think.
Enemy Mine, yep. And so not so much Enemy Mine, but when Air Force One and some of those other ones, which when I was in the U.S., they were pretty big films, and they were publicized quite a bit. And when you see it was Wolfgang Petersen, I'm like, oh, hey, that's the guy that did the Never... I could tell people that was the guy that did the Never-Ending Story, but I never really got engrossed in researching him or anything like that. But I thought it certainly made it much more cool when I saw that he did other films. Because at the time, again, as an 8-year-old, I didn't know him from anybody. I didn't know if he was iconic or a starting actor. I had no idea. I had no appreciation for his career and his accomplishments and anything like that. So honestly, even watching the documentary that you put together, all of that stuff really grew my appreciation for the process, the film, the challenges, and the directorship and all that. It was super well done. Not to, give you too many compliments that you don't want to bump you up too much, but that was really awesome. I'm kidding. It was super awesome to see that.
Well, I'm glad. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad that we connected, and it's frustrating when I hear from connect with people once the film is finished, because I was like, oh, I would love to have had you part of it, but I'm really glad that we could do this so I can at least put something together and share online and share with everyone, so we can be sharing your stories. Is there anything that I haven't asked you or you wanted to show? I know that you're going to send me some photos and stuff, which is great. But what's in your little goodie bag? Yeah,
I'll show you a few more things that have stories with them. And before I show this is the other thing I tell people when I talk to them about the Neverending Story, is that the only audible role that I've ever had in a motion picture is in the Neverending Story. And it's when Barrett steals the book and he runs out and all you can hear are his footsteps. Those are my footsteps. That's stand-in work right there. I point to people, I'm like, yeah, if you go to this point in the movie and you hear the footsteps, those are mine. So that's my only audible role I've ever had in a motion picture, but it's kind of fun to say that.
But what a role.
This is something that I think is kind of cool that Barrett gave me at the end of our filming. So this was like his lobby card that he would autograph. So that's an actual like pen on there, an autograph. And what I think was super cool is on the back, he personalized it. It says, to Mark, you're the best stand-in in the world. Love, Barrett Oliver.
He seems a really gentle, like almost too gentle. That's why he left Hollywood. Like it feels like a really gentle soul.
I've tried my own searches to try to find him anywhere, and he has no real footprint in the digital world. And I know he was doing stuff around photography based on what I could research, but I just... he's a down-to-earth guy. I'd love to have just connected with him just because it seemed like we had a pretty cool time there just to reminisce. But I think he's completely off the grid on some of these things. This is pretty cool. In Germany, they made a bunch of stickers, kind of like trading cards. So in '84, they would put out a bunch of Neverending Story merchandise. And they weren't available in the U.S. stores on base. So we had to go off to the German stores. And we would buy them like we were going out of style. We'd buy every packet we could, in the hopes of seeing if we were on stickers. Well, it turns out they did make a sticker of me. It was a 2-part sticker. Oh, it's kind of reflecting. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it was to go into the sticker book. I can't tell you how many packets we bought, and in total, I think my family, we were able to get 2 full sets of these and then an extra set of hooves in our search for these. So other things I'll find on eBay are like lobby cards, and then I see like my brother is the mushroom. He's one of the mushrooms in there, and then that's me over here. Isn't that cool? So there's a bunch of like lobby cards that I'll try to get on occasion. This is another cool artifact. So they had this coloring book. My guy was in there. My character was in there. And I don't know what the heck I was thinking, but I colored myself. And then they had this little activity book. So it's a coloring and activity book. And I was looking through that because I can't remember if I was in it. And then sure enough, there's like my little character here. And you like cut him out and then you put him together.
You know what I love too is how prominent your character is in all these merchandise items. Like how amazing that you were not only in it, but you're like still part of the legacy and the collections of people.
I think it's super cool. And I was when I reflect on that and you think about all the characters in the Ivory Tower, I think where I started to realize my character was a little more special, relatively speaking, is that they set me initially right up front with the elephant head. Then I think my bad acting moved me to the side later in the scenes, but they certainly had bigger plans, I think, or not bigger plans. It was a prominent character, and I don't know if I think I shared that with you, but in that official book where they have all the concept sketches, that's where I said, oh yeah, they've really planned out my character a little bit. You can see the little concept character. There's at least 2 other scenes. So here's one, a concept drawing, and it would be the mushrooms, which is my brother, and then me in the middle. See that little character? And the last little artifact is, and I think I'm going to be honest, I think this was after the movie when we did a tour, but I'm not sure. It has to be because I'm wearing a jacket. But that's me not long after the movie at the studio on Falkor when they used to let you ride a Luck Dragon.
And is that the same one that you would have sat on when you were the stand-in?
Yes. Yeah, that's the exact same one. That's the exact same spot that I recall being there when they were having me say faster, Falkor, faster.
It's a shame that like the generation now can't have that experience of getting photos developed and then some like scrawly handwriting on the back with a year and a smudge. And
I know. I was I'm going through all my parents' photographs and I digitize them, and I'm thinking to myself, I think I have more pictures of my daughters over the weekend than my parents have of me for 18 years. No, this is it was a great. I had a lot of fun with it. It's really grown and kind of being special to me lately, just because of the documentary, the rumblings of a remake, and then realizing that people here at work really find it interesting that it was part of this film and kind of my stories associated with it. So I'm glad I got to connect with you and you were able to listen to my stories, and hopefully it's kind of exciting.
To be honest, I love the film so much that just doing these interviews with people who even had like a one scene part of it, or a stand-in role, or like anything to do with the film, I just love having that connection, because that's the closest I'm going to get to it. I will never be on set. I can go to where it was filmed, but obviously it's an empty stage. So just having these like connections and hearing the stories, I feel like I could be part of it more as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's how I feel. And not to divert, but I collect these old lunch boxes and things like that from the 60s and 70s, and I'm very passionate about those. And I created a museum exhibit that I showed here in Omaha about the history of lunch boxes. And I know, and in that process, I tried to interview a bunch of people that used to do the art for the lunch boxes, to understand how they made them, how they decided on using ET versus Dukes of Hazzard, why they never did a Neverending Story lunchbox, all those types of things. That's a passion of mine. So I appreciate and understand what you're saying there. I enjoy it too. Okay, we're heading to the cinema to watch the Neverending Story for its 40th anniversary. This is the first time that the girls have seen it in its entirety. When we watch it at home, we generally stop after my small role that I have in there. Are you guys excited to watch it?
Yeah!
After the movie, I'm going to ask you all what you thought, okay?
Okay.
All right. What movie are we going to?
Neverending Story!
Try. You have to care. For me. You're my friend. I love you. I'm dead! Stupid horse! You gotta move or you'll die! Oh, please! I won't give up! Don't quit! I'm back!
Okay, we have one person who didn't want to give a review. Amelia, what did you think of the movie?
My name is Violet, and my age is 8.
And what did you just see? What movie?
The Neverending Story.
And tell me what you thought about it. What was your favorite part?
When I saw you in the movie,
What did you think of the movie in general?
good.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm Julia, and I'm 10 years old.
And what movie did you just see?
The Neverending Story.
And what was your favorite part?
Probably when the Empress is with the character that's reading the book, and he's making many big wishes at the end.
And what did you think of the movie in general?
It was actually really good. I thought it was really cool and good.
And what did you think of your dad's Academy Award winning performance?
If you mean that really small 30 seconds, it was really good.
All right, thanks.
You asked me the question.
What's your name?
Penny.
And how old are you?
8.
And Penny, what movie did you just see?
Neverending Story.
Yeah, and what was your favorite part of the movie?
I don't know.
What did you think about the movie in general?
It was good.
Yeah, and what did you think of your dad's award-winning performance?
Huh?
What did you think of the movie?
I have to agree with your dad's assessment.